Rico McGee, another episode of the Ruler's Minute, man. Special episode of the Ruler's Minute as I am crossing over with my brother Ken Straub, man. Straub Brothers Sports Show, Ruler's Minute collaboration right here on the 216 Sports Network. Special Tuesday episode after Wild Card Weekend. And now, after Wild Card Weekend, lot to cover. Ken, how you feeling, my brother?
Man, I'm good, man. Hey, listen, you got one half of the Straub Bros Sports Show. You got the older half of the Straub Bros Sports Show. You got the prettier half of the Straub Bros Sports Show.
I heard that, man.
I'll hear about that later. I'll hear about that later for sure.
Exactly. It's all good, man. Listen, had to talk about this because we talked a couple of weeks ago about Desmond Ridder and the Atlanta Falcons and about how you weren't impressed with Ridder at Cincinnati. So, looking at the quarterbacks in this upcoming draft, I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about what you think of each quarterback and if they get drafted, what kind of career you think they're going to have. Do you think they're going to be successful? Do you think they're going to struggle? Do you think some of them are just going to be flat out ass? So really just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Hey, listen, you know me, Rico. Every Saturday college football season, I got 4 games on the big TV, I got 4 games on the medium TV, and I got the tablet. So college football and quarterbacks, that's what I do, baby. I'm ready.
I know that's right. I heard that, man. Like, this is why I asked you to come on, man.
And I appreciate it.
With that being said, I guess we could get right into it. Of course, we're going to go with the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams from USC. Looking at his stat line, the brother has 3,633 yards passing, 30 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 82.4. But questions about maybe he acts like a diva, he doesn't want to play with the Bears. Those are rumors, by the way, that he made sure that him and his team don't get picked up by the Bears. What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams?
I mean, listen, Caleb is, for me, the consensus number 1 pick. Okay, I don't have any problem with that. You're talking about a game changer with the arm and the feet, and the numbers back it up. 93 passing touchdowns and 27 rushing touchdowns over 3 years, and a 66-67 completion percentage over those 3 years. Okay, so for me, the guy on the field has proved it. The off the field stuff, I think it's fair to talk about. It is. It's been rumored that he is openly told that he is behind closed doors told the Bears that he won't come and that he won't play for them. And you know what, Rico? I like it. And here's why I like it. All we do, and we've done it, me and you and everyone else has done it, and we come up with these lists and we'll go, hey, here's these quarterbacks that would have been actually really good if they didn't go to an organization that sucked and they didn't go to an organization that ruined them. And one of those organizations we talk about doing that is the Chicago Bears. So I don't blame a kid for going the Eli Manning route, for going the John Elway route, and saying, hey, listen, I'm not going to ruin my career off rip. I'm going to try to give myself every opportunity. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I mean, now, let's be fair with the Chicago Bears. I mean, they did win, I believe, 4 of the last 5 or 6 to close out the season. So you saw a little bit of improvement. Rumors that Justin Fields may not be happy, may want to go off and venture on and to do other things. So Chicago was potentially looking for a quarterback. I think in order for Chicago to have some success, they're going to have to clean house, and it starts in the front office. And Caleb Williams really doesn't want to be a part of that because there's a lot of uncertainty within that organization. So I'm with you. I agree 100%. I think what we're seeing now is these players are taking their future into their own hands. You're not going to write my story for me. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to build my legacy the way I want to do it. And I don't want to do it with you. Don't have a problem with that at all.
No, not at all. Now, in terms of, and unfortunately with Caleb, it carries the baggage. So we have to talk about the off the field stuff. Now, if I'm going to do a little projection, if I'm going to get full Mel Kiper on you, okay, and do some of my predictions, I think he can be Patrick Mahomes. I think he can be Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts with a better arm. No disrespect to Jalen Hurts, but just that he has that kind of arm. I think Anthony Richardson with CJ Stroud's passing ability. This is a kid who can do both. Like he's electric, and he was a lot of the reason these USC games were even close to begin with. So
Yeah,
I'm high on Caleb, and I think we need to get over he was crying after. Man, that's just who these kids are now. Okay?
yeah.
It is what it is. We can talk about that on another discussion, and we could bring all the old guys in who talk about, well, back in my day, and I get that, and I understand, but at some point we just have to accept that this is just what it is. So that's how these guys are, and if that's what it is, so be it. But I'm high on Caleb. I think he's the number one pick without a doubt.
I agree 100%. Let's go to this year's Heisman winner. Now, Jaden Daniels is probably been one of my favorite quarterbacks all season. Everything around him, I mean, LSU is, LSU going to be LSU, man.
Yeah.
3,800, 12 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, 40 interceptions, QBR of 95.6. Excellent quarterback, man. Just a good kid all around. What are your thoughts on Jaden Daniels?
X factor. A complete X factor. If it wasn't for Caleb Williams, this is the number one pick in the draft. Okay, this is completely it for me. A guy who instead of teams drafting a kid that you hope develops into both a runner and a thrower, Anthony Richardson went high because of potential. Okay,
Right.
we saw that development with Jaden Daniels. He's Justin Fields, but a kid who did it in college already. And this is what I mean. 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions as a freshman at Arizona State. I want to point out he was recruited and coached, excuse me, by Herm Edwards. And I don't care how you feel about Herm Edwards in terms of wins and losses and stuff like that. He knows how to instill into guys what is needed to be able to get to the next level and to succeed in the NFL level and to kind of give you that NFL mentality. So that's freshman year. We go 10-10 his last year at LSU, 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Herm Edwards was on his way out, a lot of clearing out in that locker room just in general. So then he gets to LSU under Brian Kelly. And for everything that I will tell you about Brian Kelly, you see the Notre Dame stuff in the background. I know a lot about Brian Kelly. He can coach guys up. He really can.
Yeah.
And we didn't just get on track, but he comes in as his first year at LSU and it's 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then we explode. 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And listen, they had the best offense in the country with one of the worst defenses in the country. One of the worst defenses in the country. So it's not like Jaden Daniels was picking apart, and in garbage time. No, he was forced to throw either for the lead, to constantly be up, and to be in these shootouts. And with some SEC defenses, add in Florida State, who they played, Missouri, Alabama, and he torched all of them. So I absolutely am a big believer in Jaden Daniels, 100%.
Do you think he'll go? Is he a top 5 pick, or do you think?
So I want to say yes. I know this all kind of in terms sometimes goes on team needs. I think one of the thing is though, like I think he's gonna slide just because of, okay, maybe this team doesn't need a quarterback. This team does. I don't think he should go past New England. I'll tell you that. But I think there's another guy they may take. But I don't think he should slip. But he possibly is going to. And now you're drafting a Heisman Trophy winner with a chip on his shoulder. That's, I mean, I talk about a guy being slighted. In terms of NFL, I said both of those names earlier, and I like it. Imagine Justin Fields if the Bears were a competent, growing organization and he had developed. I think that's what Jaden Daniels is right now. The man can run and move and score with the best of them, and he can throw the ball too. So I definitely think that this is a guy who should be a top 5 pick.
Okay, I like it, man. I like the idea. I do like Jaden Daniels a lot, and with my squad, I'm thinking I don't think he'll drop because the Falcons have the 10th pick. I don't think he'll drop that low. Don't think he'll drop that low.
Absolutely not. Here's the thing. I don't think he should make it to you. I'd love him to end up there, but
Yeah,
I don't think he should be that far.
yeah. And plus, Atlanta has to figure out the coaching situation because right now there are rumors with them and Bill Belichick, and they've interviewed Darren Wilkes, former defensive coordinator in Carolina, that was the interim head coach that probably should have got the head coaching job before they gave it to Frank Reich, but it is what it is. So
I do want to point out. So Washington, depending on what they're looking at, if they believe in Sam Howell, we're not really sure yet. So you have New England looking for a quarterback. After that, Arizona, they seem kind of sold on Kyler Murray. The Chargers obviously are not looking. The Giants, and then Tennessee and Atlanta. So if the Giants are deciding to move on from Danny Dimes, which I mean they would be smart to, you could
yeah,
potentially see a Jane Daniels land there. If not, I mean Atlanta is definitely in play, and that is definitely a place where I think he would flourish,
I think
depending on the coaching staff, obviously.
right, right. Next on my list, Drake May.
Yeah. The I'm gonna go full Mel Kiper here. The prototypical NFL quarterback, 6'4", an NFL big strong arm. But okay. And honestly, he's been the consensus number 2 pick all year long. It's been Caleb and then Drake May. He can turn the ball over. And while that can be fixed, we've also seen it kind of be the downfall of some quarterbacks, obviously. But we have to be kind of honest about some stuff. 16 interceptions over 2 years and 62 touchdowns. You don't look at that and say that that's a lot, but he didn't have any against Miami, one of their big opponents. But as we go down the stretch, one against Duke, one against Clemson, 2 against NC State, which is when they got to their tougher end of the schedule. They weren't really in it as much. He had gotten back Tez Walker, a very talented wide receiver. So there's some kind of forcing, there's some kind of gunslinger in him too. But this is gonna be kind of the Josh Allen, where that's a big guy and he's got a big arm, so he's got to go up top. And I'm not saying Drake isn't talented.
I agree. I'm not. Well, he's one of those. We'll wait and see what happens. I think if he gets with the right team that knows how to develop a quarterback, I think he'll be okay. Honestly, well, I don't know. Green Bay made the playoffs, and I don't think Drake May will fall that far. But that's definitely going to be interesting to see. You tell me some of your dark horses that you think
Before we do that, I do want to touch on something with Drake. He makes pop music. Oh, sorry. No. I'm just playing. I love me some Drake. Drake May, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, but bigger in terms of bulk. I mean, this is a big guy. This is a big kid. This is a big kid. He's younger than me. I'm calling him a kid. But like you said, another kid who needs to be in the system. Think, i.e., Baker. He will try to do too much if you let him. So he needs to be somewhere with a head coach, somewhere like Denver, possibly.
I think so too.
Where a Sean Payton can go, listen, you're going to follow this, and that's it, and that this is all you do. So that is definitely one there. So my dark horses. So I got 2. I'm gonna start. Do you want me to start with the big one? I mean, we can talk about Michael Penix Jr.
Sure.
Michael Penix Jr. for me is the quarterback easily with the highest ceiling and the lowest floor. I'm gonna be honest here. 2 ACL injuries, 2 big shoulder injuries and then he goes to Washington and he lights up the country for 67 touchdowns and 19 interceptions over 2 years. This kid makes throws that are amazing. I'm not going to lie. I don't care if they're college defenses. I don't care if they're Pac-12 defenses. He's been able to spread the ball around NFL talent, and he brings out the best of them. But everything that I just listed as a good thing is also the knock on Michael Penix. Pac-12 defenses, injury potential. 3 NFL caliber players on his offense, Odunze, Polk, and Dylan Johnson. These are all guys who are going to play on Sunday. So he could be a guy in this league. He could be the face of a league in 3 years. He could be Dan Marino, Warren Moon. I like the comparison of RG3's arm with being a pocket passer.
Mm.
That's what Michael Penix Jr. could be. But the problem is his accuracy sometimes, because he's kind of like a Will Levis. He throws that ball 150 miles an hour and you better get to it. So it's sometimes he kind of lacks the touch. And because of that Pac-12 defense, we saw what happened in the national championship game when that pressure got put on him. And I got to let a lot of people know that's not the worst game Michael Penix Jr. played all year. You could go back and look at the Arizona State game. There were some games earlier in the year where he got shut down. Some were bad weather, but there was a couple games where just in a dome, he flat out played bad when pressure got to him and guys were getting in his face.
And I
So,
think, oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think that's one of the biggest knocks on Michael Penix, and I think that unfortunately, it's going to be one of the things where that just affects his draft stock, because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, he can't handle pressure very well, and like you said, you saw that in the national championship game with Michigan, you saw that with Arizona State, and a lot of teams, when you apply that pressure, he folds, and that NFL defense is a whole nother animal from a
Yep.
college defense.
And and I'll be honest about this. Originally, like Mel Kiper didn't even have this guy on his draft board, like his the top 25 or 50. And even I was like, but and you know what? The more I've thought about it and the more I've sat on it and I've watched some stuff, I get it. He's never been pressured, and every time he's pressured in college, he has a bad game. And we now have enough guys that's happened to in the NFL that we can see sometimes that's not good. Like, it's not good that you've never been touched and you've never been hit and that you don't perform well when these big defenses come on and get you. So I think that's something to look out. I did notice you look at me when I said Dan Marino, Warren Moon, but this kid has that kind of
Oh yeah,
electric talent. He
yeah.
really, really does. And I know most people don't use those names anymore, especially calling a guy comparison to Warren Moon, but RG3 with pocket presence. And I'm not trying to criticize RG3 in any way, but he was more of an athletic running quarterback, and that's not what he is. But so I could do this for days, man. You know how I love these quarterbacks. So, all right. So I've got more. Bo Nix at Oregon.
That's who I was just about to bring up.
Okay. So Bo Nix is going to be a veteran when he gets drafted.
Right.
But to me, this is the guy with the most to prove before we get to April's draft. So I know combines don't matter 40 times, shit like that, and I get all that. But
Yeah.
for appearance sake, I think Bo needs it. I think he needs to show this year at Oregon wasn't a fluke. He worked on his ability to throw tremendously. You're talking 39 total touchdowns over 3 years at Auburn. Only 39 in 3 years. 29 and 45 in back-to-back years at Oregon. 45. He went out his way to throw that ball a lot. But I think a good pro day helps him to prove that this is not just that Oregon offense that can kind of churn out numbers and churn out college quarterbacks. I know you got some thoughts on Bo Nix, and I have a funny comparison for him.
Bo Nix is like, to me, I think he's one of the sleeper picks. He went toe to toe with Washington twice, and I think that, a lot of his abilities are slept on. He has pretty good feet.
He does.
Has pretty good feet, and I think that doesn't get a lot of credit. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think we agree on a lot with these quarterbacks. I think, he needs that combine and he needs that pro day, to show, listen, this year was not a fluke. I can do this. I can be an NFL quarterback. I think he's a little bit better under pressure than Michael Penix, but that's just my opinion.
No, I agree, and I agree. The other thing about the pro day, I think that helps too, is prove to these NFL teams that now that you're not in practice every day with your coach every day, you can still put the work in to keep those repetition. It's also not like Bo Nix gets criticized. It's unfair that we've now come to this point where we feel, as our NFL teams feel, I need to go get a guy who's raw and I need to coach him up, rather than here was a guy who was raw, has been coached up to NFL caliber. Let me get him and keep it going. Like, it's almost like I need more of a project than to grab someone who's mid project. And I think that's unfair to Bo Nix because, like you said, he's been throwing the ball well. I think it's funny that he ended up at Oregon because he kind of reminds me of another Oregon quarterback, and that's Marcus Mariota.
Yes.
Marcus Mariota was 5 years too late. are too early. If Marcus Mariota comes into this league a couple years ago, I think he's a star. I really do. His skill set was tailored for the this modern NFL. It really was. I've used these two names again because they're the top quarterbacks. But think Jalen Hurts. Think of a guy who, yes, he can run and he can really do some damage. Josh Allen, but he can make throws. He can make NFL throws. But I think there's just already some negatives thrown at Bo that are not his fault. He's been in college for a long time. He wasn't a great passer at the beginning of his career, but neither was Jaden Daniels, and he won a Heisman Trophy. So I think, well, I agree with you. I think Bo is a sleeper pick. I really, really do.
I do. I think if he gets, like I said, it's all about, how, depending on what system he's in, and coaches that are, instead of just throwing him to the wolves, man, give him a couple of years and let him develop in that system. This is why Green Bay is so good with their quarterbacks. You've only really seen 3 quarterbacks within 30 years, something like that.
Right.
Well, Brett Favre, then Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love, and what that Packers team is doing, a healthy Packers team, by the way. It's all about, how you develop your quarterbacks. And I do think that Bo Nix is one of my quarterbacks on my list that I think, if given the right system, he could do some great things in the NFL.
The Steelers.
Pittsburgh would be yeah.
Pittsburgh. I'm looking over here at the draft board. Maybe a team like Seattle potentially. Somewhere. Maybe Las Vegas, Minnesota, but a place who's going to take their time, get him in the right system, and then let him go and be who he can be. But let him make mistakes too. I want to point something out because I was listening last night when I was watching the Monday night game, the playoff game. I listened to Peyton and Eli. I didn't listen to Aikman and Buck. Peyton was talking to Bruce Arians, and one of the things they talked about was, I never took Peyton out at the end of those games. He learned something in the third and fourth quarter. And Peyton had made a joke, that's why nobody will break his interception record. And that he has a problem with these quarterbacks being pulled at the end of games. Whoever drafts Bo Nix, let him fail sometimes, but let him finish the games, and he will then be who he should be.
Then that side note, do you think that's the problem with a lot of quarterbacks?
Yes.
In today's in this game now.
100%. They're not allowed to fail anymore. Like, I don't think Mac Jones is probably a starter in the NFL, but Mac Jones should have finished every one of those games last year and this year. Let a guy fail and let them figure it out. We did not, I'm sorry, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. This is a very new thing. We grew up in an NFL where if you got replaced like that, that was it. You weren't coming back in next week.
Yeah.
So I don't like what the Jets did with Zach Wilson at all. I think it's garbage. I think you should have just let him play. I don't like what was going on with the Giants when they finally went to the backup, to the guy who, or I don't agree with this carousel of in and out with what the Patriots were doing, where I'm gonna play a guy for I think I don't think it does any good. You can learn something down 21, 24, trying to build something in the fourth quarter. That's when guys can build some trust and build some, reliability and stuff like that.
That's what my biggest issue was with pulling out. Well, I think the pressure was on Arthur Smith, and he knew his time was going to come to an end. So at that point, he was coaching for his job, but just constantly swapping out with Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder. It was like, dude, you got to let him learn. You got to let him grow. You got to let him make mistakes. The chances of us getting very far this season, and we've showed bits of where we can be pretty good, but listen, if Desmond Ridder is going to be your guy, you got to let him be your guy. You got to let him fuck up.
Right.
You got to let him fuck up.
And it's a 17 game schedule. Give a guy the first 10, maybe 12, and then go, okay, we've given this every chance we have. It's not working. We're going to give the last 4, the last 5, the last however many to the next guy. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Next on my list, national champion from Michigan, JJ McCarthy.
I'm gonna shock a lot of people here, Rico.
Okay.
It's my favorite quarterback going into the draft.
20.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. Because and I mean I would not fake love for a Michigan player. Okay, okay. There's no faking that. But I think we look back and we're gonna go, why did we doubt a kid who did nothing but win? Like and made the throws that were supposed to happen. I get the Mac Jones comparison. Well, he just made sure he didn't mess up. No, man, this kid has an arm. He can make throws. And I apologize. I'm used to, he's got balls, man. He really does. And not just oh, I think I can make this throw. I'm gonna throw it. It's I think I can make this throw and I'm gonna make the throw. And it's throws that not everybody can make. It's throws that Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Kayla Williams, all these guys at the top of the draft board. It's throws that they make. And he did them on big stages against big teams.
Did it against Ohio State. I mean, and I'm going to be honest. I thought Ohio State was probably going to be like, you know what? They're going to snap the streak. They're going to beat Michigan this year. That didn't happen. Went to the Big Ten title game, dominated, then dominated an Alabama team that has won 6 national championships in 10 years. Probably one of the greatest systems in college football. So for him to do that, JJ McCarthy has it all. I think he has that it factor. And whoever picks him up is picking up a gem. JJ McCarthy has been catching a lot of shade despite what he's done throughout the previous 2 seasons, last season and this season.
And 100%. And like he does, there is some, he reminds you of all those quarterbacks at Alabama, the Mac Jones and others. But this is my thing. He absolutely has to go to the right coach and right organization, because I think my comparisons with him, I think, are how it goes depending on how he's drafted. So I think you've got a Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, not the same arm, a guy who's going to hang in, but he's going to make big plays. And I know I'm going to say this name and people are going to go, but the Tom Brady skill set.
Okay.
Like, no, I'm not saying JJ McCarthy is going to win 6 rings,
right.
But what was Tom Brady's best skill set? He knew the game. He was very smart. He could make and he made big plays when they mattered. And that's what JJ McCarthy does. He makes big plays when they matter, and it's not just, oh, I'm going to scramble and take off. No, he makes throws. He makes the right reads, and then he makes the smart reads with his legs. So I think Kirk Cousins is my favorite comparison of him, to be honest. Kirk Cousins, but here's the problem. If he gets drafted by the wrong organization and they go, save us, he's Brady Quinn, he's Matt Leinart, he's David Carr.
Yeah.
He's out of the league in 2 to 3 years, and he's a wasted talent. I like him in Atlanta. You have 2 great running backs. You have a great tight end and a great wide receiver. You need somebody who is going to step back and distribute and be smart with the ball. That is exactly what JJ McCarthy is. I think New England needs somebody like a Caleb Williams or a Jaden Daniels. I think the Giants, I think they need a star. I think they need one of those guys as well, Caleb or Jaden, whoever falls, a Drake May. I think Atlanta needs not game manager, because that's taken on a negative connotation now, but they need the guy who's going to make the right plays, the right throws, better than Jared Goff, but even a little bit better. I think that's who JJ McCarthy could honestly be.
Okay. I like him. I like it a lot. Let's get to your dark horses, because you had some interesting dark horses. And I want to start a little bit with Jordan Travis. What are your thoughts on Jordan Travis when you talk about dark horses?
Unfair, obviously, because of the horrible ankle injury, but Tua, a little bit Jalen Hurts. We've seen guys get drafted who were not 100% healthy, and they needed some time. I think Jordan Travis, I would love to see obviously Green Bay has Jordan Love, but I would love to see that type of situation for Jordan Travis, where a team with an established veteran guy who's going to be there for another 3 to 4 years goes, let's get this kid in. We'll let him heal up, not even worry about him as his first year. And then we're going to get in there. We're going to develop and continue the development. I think that can help. And I want to look at the draft board real quick. A team like potentially, if Minnesota did re-sign Kirk Cousins, that would be a great place. A team potentially like the Rams. If Stafford is going to hang on for another year, get Jordan Travis in there. But a kid who was electric, man. Like Florida State was in the college football playoffs just off of Jordan Travis's ability alone. So I think this is a kid who could be electric, but I would love to see a team go and get him. Hey, and I know it sounds crazy. Maybe a team like Kansas City? Long play. In 5 years, we don't know what Mahomes is going to be or where the contract will be, but that would be a place with an established guy.
I would actually like to see what he do in Vegas. I would actually like to see him with the Raiders. I think personally, they're rebuilding that system. I mean, they've already got some good pieces in place defensively. Offensively, they just got to find somebody that's gonna, make the big plays when they matter. I would like to see him in Vegas.
I'm just scared about wishing any kid going to Vegas.
Yeah, right now.
I just it does that's the only reason why. But I agree. I mean, I have a feeling. I think Oakland's going to be looking at somebody like, oh, we need to go get Jane Daniels, or we need to go get a splash guy.
And that's scary because they're
and
probably going to just draft him and just be like, save our organization, and then you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
And then they just throw him to the wolves. He doesn't learn. They don't teach him. They're impatient. He don't get it done. Get your ass out of here. It's like, so that's the only thing, I get what you're saying now. What about talk to me about Sam Hartman a little bit.
Oh, Sam. I know a lot about Sam. My Notre Dame guy who came in for his fourth or his fifth year, actually. Sam is a tough one because I will be honest, if I had to rank all of these quarterbacks fully healthy, I would have Sam at the bottom. But all of these guys possess enough NFL talent to be an NFL caliber player. They all do. With the right bit of coaching, any of these guys could be an NFL starter. Let's be honest. But the thing that is going to limit Sam is the deep ball and the deep ball accuracy. He had like 10 straight games 7 or 8 games of no interceptions. It was 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then the wheels came off in a couple games. So that was a problem for Sam. I also think Sam is kind of similar to Michael Penix. And I mean, all of these guys technically, but he has to go to a good place. He has to go to a place who is going to build an offense around himself. And he is the definition of a system quarterback. And that's okay. Tom Brady was a system quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Joe Montana was a system quarterback. Peyton Manning was a system quarterback. Now, did the system kind of become tailored around their skill set? Yeah, but that's what you're supposed to do. Let's be honest, Rico. Give me any quarterback who has ever failed in NFL history, and I'll tell you this. If I was to change that team and go, all right, let's tailor this team to his exact skill set, they would be successful. Teams are not always willing to do that. Coaches are not willing to do that. Sam has to have that, or he's never going to sniff the field. I'm going to be honest, but he's a smart kid. He can read defenses. He can. It just needs to progress, and it needs to be a little quicker. But that you get him with a guy like Belichick. You get him with a guy like Mike McDaniels, a guy who can really coach this guy up, and Andy Reid, the offensive coordinator over there in Washington or Tampa Bay. One of those guys, he could be Baker in Tampa. He's not got the arm that Baker's got, but he could be that guy.
Okay. And my last, you got one more on your list, man. What do you think of Michael Pratt, and why is he your dark horse?
A name not a lot of guys have heard of. From Tulane. a 4-year starter, and not just an AAC Offensive Player of the Year, 11-3, 22 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions this year, and also a career best 65.4 completion percentage. 6'3", he's a big guy. He likes to let it go. I think that, every year there's a guy that they come out of nowhere and all of a sudden they're starting for said team and we go, what? Well, nobody. I think this is going to be that guy. I like some of these 4-year guys coming out this year. I like the fact that some of these kids have hung around and have stuck in there. And I think he's going to, I think we're gonna sit down about draft time and we're gonna go, why all of a sudden is this kid up on everybody's draft board? Hey, let me see his pro day. We got to go find stuff. Well, there's not a lot of tape, and it was at Tulane. Man, listen, some guys just have a skill set, and from what I've seen, I think this guy's got a professional NFL skill set.
When you got players like Brock Purdy that just come out of nowhere and just do their thing the way they're doing their thing, do you think that a lot of coaches aren't looking for top 5 picks in the draft anymore? Top quarterbacks?
You're gonna everything's a copy in the NFL. Everything is, oh, that worked, now I've got to do it. Everyone trying their own version of the tush push this year, towards the end of the year, stuff like that. I absolutely think I believe you're gonna see a lot of teams go, okay, I can't get Caleb and I can't get Drake May and I can't get Jane Daniels. All right, now I'm just gonna sit and wait. And let me look through some of these other guys, uh, Michael Pratt, Sam Harton, Jordan Travis, a guy like JJ McCarthy, who, like we said, is not normally at the top of most draft boards, but it's a guy that you're going to go, okay, no, this is somebody we absolutely need to keep an eye on. I also wanted to point out, because it did break, little Tua, Tulia Tagovailoa, was just denied his NCAA request for his 6th year. He will be now entering the NFL draft. That's another kind of guy where you're like, okay, he's got a skill set that can translate to the NFL. I can wait. I can let him. This is like building through the line almost now. I can get a quality lineman in the 4th round. Can I get that guy in the 4th round? Remember, Dak Prescott's a 5th round pick out of Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, a 12th round pick. So you can pick up talent in the end, but I definitely think guys are going to be more willing. And that's great because a lot of these quarterbacks didn't get shots because they weren't the top 5. So I definitely think because it's a copycat league, you'll definitely see that.
And as far as Dallas goes, after what happened on Sunday, what do you think is going to happen with the future of maybe Dak Prescott? Do you think they're going to stick with Prescott, or do you think they're going to move on from Prescott?
So this is what's a tough one for me because, number one, yes, Dak had the pick 6. Dak had 2 interceptions. Didn't particularly distribute the ball well, started to try to force it to CeeDee Lamb, which led to the first interception. However, the defense gave up 42 points. So as much as I want to same old Dak, the defense didn't show up. But they played from behind late. And the problem is Dak has showed a propensity, and Dak has now been proven. He's a veteran. We now know this. Dak can't play from behind. Okay. The beauty of, and I'm a Cowboys fan, diehard. So the beauty of the Tony Romo years was it didn't matter how many points we were down. Romo had a chance. All right, he slanged that boy, and him and Witten and him and Dez would get to rolling, and it didn't matter. They could come back. That's not what this Cowboys offense can do. They have got to start to play from in front, and that's not how you can't win every NFL game playing from in front. It doesn't happen. So I'm driving the Rain Dakota Prescott bandwagon, but I pulled over to the side, and I'm not going any further. I'm not saying I want to go to Trey Lance because Trey Lance hasn't shown me anything. I wouldn't mind Jordan Travis.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind a project. I really wouldn't.
Okay.
I know we have a late 1st round pick if we have that one, and I will switch back over. I apologize for not having that loaded up. But yeah, a guy like Maybe I don't know Sam Hartman, and I know that's my Notre Dame bias to be like, hey, take the Notre Dame guy, but I'm not sold there. Michael Pratt, you know what I mean? Like you said, a project, somebody who's hurt, somebody who's a little Tua, um, you know, you know, somebody like that you can start to go, all right, Dak, the pressure is on, and that's why they went and got Trey Lance.
Yeah.
We went and got a young guy who's going to sit behind there and develop and go, okay, Dak, it's time to put up. We're not going to deal with this success anymore. No, we do not have no, we do. We have the 24th pick in the first round. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a late flyer. I'll be honest. We need to start with the offensive line and get some new young blood in there. But yeah.
You know what? I really like a lot of people said that this quarterback class coming into this draft isn't that great and things like that. And I'm like, I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think this is a good class. It's just a matter of, who, depending on where you go, who's going to develop that, one of these kids the best. And I
think we look back on this draft class and go, oh, wow. This is one of those. We go, wow, how many NFL? How many guys are starting? Wow.
You look at that's kind of how I feel. This kind of reminds me of like the 2004 NFL draft class when you had Eli and Phillip Rivers. You had
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like that. Like this is probably one of the better quarterback classes I've seen in a while, and I think they could do some things. I think it just depends on where they go and how much time. The NFL is a very fast-paced game, and it's like if you don't get it, you're out of here. And
right.
that's kind of how it is. I think if Desmond Ridder had more time to develop, he probably could have been a little bit better than what he was. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. We go.
Okay. Moving on right quick. One last topic. Wild card weekend wrap up.
Whew.
Gonna start. Browns blowout loss to the Texans. Didn't think it would happen like that.
No. But two things were worth pointing out. Flacco got lucky on a lot of those throws earlier and down the stretch because some of those should have been picked off in games that they won. And Browns fans, you actually have for 1 year the real reasons and excuses to go, all right, next year. Like there's like you lost Nick Chubb. Watson hasn't performed and wasn't healthy. Your Myles Garrett has a shoulder injury and is not the same player right now. Get healthy, figure out your quarterback situation, get Nick Chubb rehabbed, re-sign Kareem Hunt, and come back next year.
I agree. I think the only thing is you invested that $250 million into Watson. So Watson's probably going to be the starter, but Joe Flacco made a very strong case stepping in and doing what he did to close out the season. I just kind of knew, and I'm not knocking Browns fans. I understand why you thought you were going to win the Super Bowl, but I just said it's just too many, bad circumstances right now. And I would be surprised if you got to the divisional round, given everything that you were dealing with.
Absolutely. And sorry, Browns fans, when your defense gives up 40-something points, regardless of the 30-something points, so take away the 14 on the pick sixes, that's not the games you're going to be winning. It's just it's not the games you want to be winning. So, I like I said, I get it, Browns fans, but relax and reload. You got a great defense that's still coming back next year. Reload it through the draft, and I know you got a lot of cap money invested in Watson, so he better come back to life for them, because if not, that's going to be the downfall of that team.
That's what I've been saying. You invested all that money. First of all, you're -9 in turnover differential, so you're having a hard time taking care of the football.
Right.
With that being said, Watson, the Browns' success to me is going to depend on Watson and not Watson. The defense has already shown, listen, we're going to keep up our end of the deal. It's going to be up to Watson to determine how far the Browns go.
And the days of having defenses that only give up 17 to 20 points every game consistently, those are gone. You have to still be able to score. I know, like I just said, the 45 is not, or 42 is not how you be, but still, they're not going to only give up 17 a game. This isn't college. It's not how it works.
No, exactly. Kansas City and Miami. I already knew that was going to be that. Miami just isn't. When they said Miami doesn't play well in winter, they weren't lying.
No. Good.
I think Kansas City's I'm not Kansas City. I'm sorry. I think Miami's defense just didn't show up. Didn't show up at all.
No, the defense didn't show up. They ran the ball very well all year long, and then just sat back and tried to throw it all. And that was disappointing too. Miami, go beef up the line in the draft. You don't need to add any weapons. You don't go add on the. They're in a good spot. Go add on your lines and go add on your defense, and come on and be better against good teams. They won one game against good teams, and that was the comeback against the Cowboys that honestly they shouldn't have won. We let them back in the game. So you should have lost all of your games against good teams. That starts in practice and then with the coaching.
I agree 100%. Let me see. Tampa Bay.
Like I said on the Straub Bro Sports Show, my most dangerous team in the AFC was Kansas City, because to beat a champ, you got to beat the champ, and you don't count out champs like that. You never counted out New England. You don't count out Kansas City. You got to bury them. You can't give them life. So my bad. Go ahead.
Tampa Bay last night. Baker Mayfield. What do you call it? Baker touchdown maker.
Baker touchdown maker. That's my guy.
Get out my division and stay out. Get the hell out my division, please. Did what he was supposed to do last night against a banged up Philly team. The wheels started to fall off. Started off the season 10-1, and then you finish 11-7. Man, it's like Mike Evans and Mike Evans had a day yesterday. Baker, I think he had 3 passing touchdowns and over 300 yards passing, if I'm not mistaken.
And 2 dropped early ones that were just wide open touchdowns. So I'm a big Baker guy. I like Baker. I'm not gonna lie. I love everything about him. I love the confidence. But I think this was more about Philly. Philly almost, they had a chance. That defense gave them a couple stops, but that offense is just stalled out. They're beat up and injured from quarterback down. Jason Kelce just retired today.
Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with it. I think guys were done, and I think they tried to reload for one more Super Bowl run and started to win, and then realized, no, we're actually broken and beat up and can't do this again. And I think it just fell apart for them, but shout out to Tampa Bay. They showed up, and that's once again, and I know Kansas City, that's a championship defense in Tampa Bay. There's a lot of guys on that team that are held over from that Super Bowl run. Godwin and Evans on the offense, and the playoff Lenny. Or no, playoff Lenny's not there anymore. I apologize. And then the guys on the defense who are still there. That's all. And they've only needed a quarterback, and now they've got a guy in there who can sling that ball around too. So Tampa Bay's dangerous, and they took advantage of Philly like they should. And Tampa Bay now goes to Detroit. And I know Detroit is high off that win, but man, you better get off of that and get ready.
You beat them earlier in the season, but this is a different Tampa Bay team, and they've got the experience. You got guys that have won and know how to win, in hostile situations. Remember what they did a couple of years ago to Green Bay.
Right.
In Green Bay, I don't care if it was COVID or not. You went in the cold ass Lambeau Field and you dominated. They're not worried. You better get off, like you said. You better be ready.
Baker, when he was here in Cleveland, that beat up on that Steelers team, and then was a bad call away in a fourth down play by the defense that the defense didn't make from going to the AFC Championship game. Yeah. So,
listen, I tell people all the time, Baker is not the bum that he's made out to be. People make him out that he's not the guy and that he's not good. He's not that guy.
What I like to say about Baker, is he top 10? Yes, in terms of stats, he actually is this year. But if you made a list, is he top 10? No. Is he top 15 to 20? 100%.
Yes.
So,
thank you.
Of course.
So much.
Of course, bro.
For joining my show, man. Really appreciate it. Just wanted to get your thoughts, because I know you cover college football. Wanted to get your thoughts on the quarterbacks heading into the NFL draft, man. So thank you again, as always. Don't forget to catch the Straub Brothers Sports Show this Thursday, as always, man. Ken and Andrew doing their thing. Don't forget to check out the Rulers Minute. I'm Rico McGee. This is Ken Straub. And as always, we'll see you in a minute.
Love yours.